You're listening to the Hunt Stealth Podcast with Ryan Uffens, the podcast where we dive headfirst into the wild. Whether you're an aspiring hunter or an adventurer seeking the untamed, together we'll explore the strategies and stories that lead to success in the great outdoors.
Welcome to another episode of the Hunt Stealth Podcast. We get to do this one in person. We're here today with Evan Frampton. Evan works out. We're here at the Black Flag headquarters, hanging out. He works out at the gym downstairs, and we've crossed paths and got some family acquaintances between my siblings and all that fun stuff growing up. But Evan, thanks for making some time to sit down with me.
Of course, yeah. Looking forward to it.
So, Evan, you're a competitor. I know you're a competitor. Work in sales. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you work in sales so that you can take the time off to do the hunting and other activities that you want to do. Is that correct?
Yeah, I just kind of followed suit with my family. A bunch of my uncles and my dad have always done sales. Yeah. And you kind of see that, not always, but a lot of times kids follow their father or whatever leader they look up to in their life. And so I got into sales through my dad and my uncle. And now, with how much I love hunting, I've hunted my whole life, but since being an adult and figuring out that if you work hard enough in sales, it provides a lot of free time. Yeah. That's, the answer is yes. That's why I choose to stick in it for the time.
So you say you've been hunting your entire life. Tell me a little bit about like your earliest memory that you have of hunting with your family.
One of my earliest memories, and I wasn't expecting you to ask this question. I'm glad you did, because it's as cheesy as it sounds. It's like really close to my heart. Growing up, I remember my dad waterfowl hunting is kind of like the first thing that sticks out to me. And we grew up deer hunting and going to we had a family farm we used to hunt on here in Utah. But I remember my dad, this is when I was too little to go, he'd come home and I was always so excited to see the ducks and he'd put them on the front lawn. We'd still have pictures of that. But one of my earliest memories is I was probably 8 or 9 years old, maybe younger, maybe 7 or 8. And it was opening day of the duck hunt, and I went out with my dad and his friends. And back then you had to be 12 years old to get your small game license. Had that age limit on it. And so I didn't have a gun, but I was just excited to be there. And my dad, I think we ended up going to a spot that they weren't planning on for whatever reason. And he carried me on his back all the way out in the marsh, which if you've been out in the marsh, it sucks trudging through that thick mud.
I'm assuming it's Farmington Bay.
Farmington Bay.
Yeah.
Good old Farmington Bay.
Farmington Bay, okay.
And so we were out there in that war zone. And like I said, I'm little, but I'm just so happy to be there. And shooting starts and ducks are flying like crazy, and my dad's like, buddy, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to stand in the water, and I don't have any waders, and he carried me out there on his back for that reason. And so I stood in the water, soaked, got drenched the entire hunt. And I remember he said, hey, don't tell your mom. And anyway, so that's kind of the long-winded version, but that's one of my earliest hunting memories. And I don't think I ever told my mom until we were way older. Okay. And I didn't care regardless. I was just, like I said, I was so happy to be there, and it stuck with me since. I feel like you get those stories where that either makes or breaks you. It's like, oh, I hate hunting because I went once with my dad and the weather was horrible, or I got all wet and it was cold, or it's like that's what got me hooked. And for me, that's what got me hooked.
Yeah. I know my son Jackson, that's one of the things, like when we went up just this last year, you probably remember, archery, we were out trying to chase down a bull. And like that bad, we had like those tsunamis for like weeks. Mm-hmm. Anyway, we were up just on the hill here on the other side of the B, and dude, storm came in, thunder. Do you remember all that thunder and lightning that we had? Dude, that was gnarly. I thought we were going to die. Like, have you ever smelled lightning before? Like, I
want to say I have once when I was up in the high Uintas.
It's unnerving. And then when it flashes too, like everything goes bright and you just can't see anything for a minute. And I didn't think we were going to make it out, but after we did make it out, we kind of laughed about it. Now it's funny and it's like a cool story. Yeah. But in the moment, I did not think we were getting out of there.
Yeah.
I mean, it was right on top of us, but
Especially when you're in elk country, a storm's a lot scarier.
for whatever reason, yeah, God's like, all right, boys, see how bad you want this.
They make great stories.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. But what's been one of your favorite hunts that you've done recently that you can think of? I mean, something's, near-death experience, like funny. Is there anything that comes to mind that?
I've thought about this, and there's for me, there's two sides to hunting that just all around. And of course, I'm biased because I love hunting and I'm obsessed with it. But to me, it's just there's nothing negative about it other than if you abuse it, right? And it turns into such an obsession to where you're neglecting the important things like your family. But other than that, there's nothing negative to it. I think that it can help you with from everything from health and fitness to your relationships, creating those memories with the people that my top memories in my life are with my closest family and friends in the outdoors. So to answer your question, I have those memories where I like to solo hunt a lot and backpack hunt when I archery elk hunt, and I have some of the coolest stories ever on those hunts. And then you have completely opposite end of the spectrum where you don't have to go stay in the backcountry. You can stay in a trailer or a hotel or just day trip it with my family where we've killed some bulls together and we have 10 people there, and it's just awesome. So the first one that will come to my mind as far as one of the coolest hunting stories is my dad. I say this, and again, as corny as it sounds, I'm 31 years old, but my dad's my best friend. He's one of my best friends. And
it's not a bad thing.
Yeah, and he's the person I look up to most in my entire life. But he drew, so born and raised in Utah, both of us, and how Utah is. It took him 22 years to draw his limited entry tag, and he had always put in for elk, and he drew the boulder tag.
Okay.
So funny enough, I had went on a mission when I was 19, got home, and then immediately moved out to Texas and started doing sales. That's not true, I actually worked at Mountain Ops for a little bit with the Harbersons back in the day, and then I left to go do sales with one of Casey's best friends, actually. And so I lived with, I think that's why Casey was okay with me leaving. No, but
knew you'd be in good hands.
Be in good hands, yeah. So I went out and moved out with Adam Wall and moved out to Texas and started working with who is now one of my really, really good friends, one of my closest friends. His name is David Gates. And it's just funny how you find these connections, because now this opened up a whole other group of lifelong friends that I have. But he had served his mission with a kid from Escalante, Utah, if you know where that is, small town down there. So the Boulder's his backyard. He grew up there, and he's so David, my friend, introduced us to Logan. Long story short, my dad draws the tag, and Logan's just it was just friends immediately, family immediately. He was taking my dad out. They had a bunch of trail cams up, and a bull that Logan had been watching for years, who it ended up becoming my dad's target bull, and his name is Downer. And a lot of people knew about this bull and the name, and I never saw the bull because I think I was gone when the years that he looked like this. But to my knowledge, they called him Downer because his fronts, they went down like this. And then eventually when my dad killed him, which I'll get to, he kind of did that on one of his brow tines, and then the other one just went up normal. So anyway, that's the bull thereafter. So all summer, my dad and Logan would go up and pull cams and fish up there and just watch bulls and plan out the hunt. So my dad had the muzzleloader tag for limited entry, so it's what would that be, middle, end September? Yeah. And we go up there, and of course, we've been waiting our entire lives for my dad to draw this tag.
So how long ago was this?
This was in 2018.
Okay, so a while ago, but not too long.
A while ago, yeah, not super long. So 2018, the hunt that we've all been waiting for.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't have mattered if he didn't kill his target bull, and he killed a bull, or he didn't kill a bull. We would have had a great time regardless. But you realize, the more I've been on these limited entry hunts, because I've been on multiple now, like there can be a lot of pressure that comes with them.
Yeah.
Like pressure that the hunter puts on themselves, and then other people put on themselves helping. And because you're like, I mean, some people buy these tags, but majority of people don't buy these tags. They wait 10 to 20 years for a tag.
I have no hope, man. I just started hunting like 4 years ago, so man, I'm gonna have to be out there like in my 80s trying to chase something down. But anyway,
hey, it seems like the guys like you who they start hunting and they just put in, those are the guys that draw like winning the lottery. Yeah. I had a buddy draw the San Juan tag with like, I think he had 7 points.
That's wild.
But anyway, so my dad waited 22 years, and so this is the hunt of a lifetime. Scout all summer. Fast forward to the hunt. We go down there, set camp up. We went down.
Let me. Sorry, I apologize. Let me ask you this. Like, tell me, like, how often did your dad and you guys go down and scout? Like, was that something? I mean, were you down there pretty regular, or?
So the one downside to my job is and it sucks because I would love to. I'd live on the mountain. I personally don't have time to scout in the summer.
Yeah.
Because I'm
working,
but I can hunt as much as I want in the hunting season. So my dad was probably going down. They probably went down about every 2 weeks.
And with these acquaintances you guys have made, they're kind of helping him out and giving him some direction and stuff. Mm-hmm. Okay, right on.
Yeah, we have another really good group of friends that I'm glad you brought this up because they were involved as well. It was cool seeing everybody come together and just help my dad.
That's one of the things that I really do love about the hunting community is like when somebody gets one of these, like people are like, they'll like rally to help. That's one of the cool things. I mean, I know the past couple episodes we've been talking about people, how sometimes hunters can like crap on each other, like mostly in the social media, but like in the real world, like when somebody gets one of these limited entry tags, it's cool to see everybody come together and make connections to try and help somebody have a successful harvest, right?
Oh, totally. Yeah. I mean, like I said, these are experiences that are very few and far in between when you have that caliber of a tag.
The limited entry really does mean like limited entry.
Yeah, that's the best way to define it. Yeah. Well, maybe nowadays, like you said, maybe it should be once in a lifetime now.
Once in a lifetime, yeah.
But anyway, so we get down there, and we had my friend from Escalante and my friend from up here, David, and then we had another group. We deer hunt with some I don't even want to call them friends, they're family. Jerry Glover and then his group of friends down there. They were helping us too, him and some buddies, and they're from small town guys down there in Orderville, Utah. Half the people on here probably won't even know where that is, but it's down by Kanab. And
I didn't know where it was.
So everybody can't. Yeah, I didn't know until I started hunting there 10 years ago. So everybody kind of came together, and they on one part of the unit we had that group of guys watching some bulls, and then on the other part of the unit we had Logan and my dad watching these bulls. But ultimately, and he had a couple options like, I'd kill that bull or that bull, but the number one bull was Downer. And so, like I said, fast forward to the hunt, we get down there, set up base camp. Me and Logan actually went down first. We went down like 2 days before because we wanted to you scout all summer, but then it's like, okay, we want to know where he is now when the hunt opens. So me and Logan, I remember we drove through the middle of the night down there and got there probably at like 4 or 5 a.m. and just passed out in the front seats of his truck, both of us. And then woke up, went, and first morning we found him. Like immediately, I have a video on my Instagram, and I have to cut the audio out because there are some choice words in there out of excitement. But we found him, and Logan's just pumped. He's like, dude, we were going to kill him. And so he's on this face. We know where he is. He has no idea we're there. We're like probably 1,500 yards away. So we're like, sweet, we found our bull. We watch him through the morning, and then we go fish. Everybody shows up the next day. We go back the next day, like clockwork. He's in the exact same spot feeding with another bull. And then the next morning was opening morning. So everybody's at camp, and I won't name everybody because it would take too long, but we had...
And you'd probably forget somebody.
I'd forget someone too, yeah. So we have probably 7 friends down there.
I know.
And then we have 7 to 10 family members down there. Some of them had to come and go. And we get there, we make a game plan. He's on this face, like I said, that we were watching that's 1,500 yards away. The only way to get to where that bull was without pushing everything out, you had to basically walk straight uphill. And he actually wasn't like crazy far off of the road. It was just, it just to access it, you, like I said, you have to walk straight up. Long story short, we had some friends that the whole summer, they were like, we want to film your hunt. We want to film your hunt. And my dad had committed to them, and, you know, he wasn't going to say, no, I don't want you to film it at the last second. And I really wanted to be like right next to my dad when he shot it. But I knew that night before, I was like, I just said, no, it's, and there's a little bit of drama at camp. Sometimes that happens. I found on these limited entry hunts too, and part of it was because of me. But the older I get, I'm like, look, like, I feel like I try to mature in that way and just have a good time and not bring drama into hunting. But anyway, we decided, I said, look, I would love to be there, but I'm not going to go in because we know how these mature bulls are, and the less people, the better for all the reasons we know, right? Scent, sound, sight. And so we had my dad, let's see, who was it? My dad, our friend Cam, and Logan. I think it was just those three that went up. And they get set up opening morning, and nothing. Ghost town. Nothing at all. I think they saw a big buck, actually. But we're hunting elk. So nothing. When we went in, and it's funny because it's opening day, but we start stressing. And so we went and hunted hard in the evening, and we got on some elk. And that was awesome because it was just part of the experience to be in screaming elk, which was really cool because my dad doesn't experience that often. And then next morning, and this is the morning we killed him. So me and my buddy are on the glass, same spot, and they go in, the same group of three, and this was super, super interesting because it's the end of September. I want to say he killed him, I could be wrong, but I think it was like September 28th, maybe a little bit earlier. But the story goes, me and my buddy are on the glass, and we're watching these two bulls, and we don't know that Downer, the target bull, is in there. And so we're watching these bulls for probably 45 minutes, and we see a nice 6-point, and on the radio they're like, hey, we got a bull, we're going to kill him. And that's all we hear. And we don't hear anything else on the radio. And so we're just waiting and watching on the glass. We hear a shot, boom, and the bulls scatter. And so we're like, what happened? What happened? You know, he probably killed an awesome bull. And we're excited. We're just thinking he killed a nice 6-point. And we're trying to get him on the radio, and we're like panicking, calling. Little do we know, and I'll tell the other side of the story. And so we're like, what happened? Well, I get a phone call, and I need to post this video, but I get a phone call from my dad. We had service up there, luckily, and he's like, I killed a bull. And he's like, well, I gotta go, I'll call you back. And so we're like, what the hell is going on? Like, what bull did you shoot? Is he down? Actually, and I don't think, I misspoke. He didn't say I killed a bull. He's like, I hit a bull. And then he hung up. He's like, I gotta go. And so we're like, are we going to have to track down a bull? Is he wounded? What's going on? Well, the cooler side of the story is they're all sitting there, and these bulls trickle in, a group of like 3 or 4 bulls. And my dad describes it that when they came in, it sounded like someone was just smacking trees with a baseball bat because they were raking trees. And funny enough, they weren't bugling at all, and they didn't have any cows with them. It's like a group, end of September, group of 4 or 5 bulls, all bachelored up still. And big bulls. There's actually, some people are like, what were you guys thinking? But it was just, this was our target bull, but there's another really nice bull that was killed by an outfitter later on. And I think he was broken off, but I think they said without his broken tine that he was 390s. Anyway, so that bull, that 390s bull's in there, Downer's in there, and like 2 other bulls. And they come in, and they're at like 40 yards. And Logan whispers to my dad, he's like, smoke him. And my dad pulls up his gun, and he has it zoomed in on like, I can't remember if it was on like 8 power or something. And so it's heat of the moment, which I can get super flustered in the heat of the moment, and just like my dad did. And so he's like, my dad's freaking out, panicking. He's like, I can't see him through my scope. And he knows how to use his equipment, but he was just so flustered. And so Logan leans over, dials a scope back to 1 power or whatever, and he's like, hey, he's gonna come through that opening. It's super thick, just like Elk Country is. He's like, he's gonna come through this opening. As soon as he comes through this opening that's like this big, smoke him. And he was at 60 yards and he came through. My dad shot and dropped him in his tracks. He spined him actually, and then they shot him again. And so they're up there like hooting and hollering, celebrating. And that's when they had called us immediately after he calls, just to let us know that they shot a bull. And that was it. And so we're freaking out.
So when he said he had hit a bull, he had already killed it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he had killed it. They were probably so damn excited. He's just like, I shot a bull, got to go by.
Yeah.
And so we're like, sweet, okay. So this is we're waiting for probably 15 minutes. My friend David and I, that were on this glassing point watching these bulls. But
it probably feels like forever.
It felt like an eternity. And so we're waiting forever, or so we thought. And these guys are up there celebrating. And we couldn't see those bulls that came in. So we did not know he shot downer. So finally we get the call back. I'm like, Dad, what's going on? And we have this on video. My friend filmed it. It's one of the best videos ever. And I think everybody on that mountain could hear us. And my dad's like, he's like, I shot a bull. And we're like, okay, who'd you shoot? He's like, I shot Downer. He's like, Downer is dead. He's dead. He's down. And I screamed, I think, louder than I've ever screamed in my life. And I'm just going berserk, like fist pumping and jumping around. And my buddy's screaming like a little girl. And we were so excited. I think they said, actually, they could hear us like 1,500 yards away screaming. And anyway, that's the long-winded version of it. After that, we went back to camp, rallied up the entire camp, and everybody hiked up there. It was cool. Literally everybody hiked up there. My little cousin, he's more like a nephew to me. He was at the time he's probably 6 or 7, hiked up there. My stepmom made it back there to be with my dad and everything, and it was cool. It was really cool. My little sister was back there. She helped cape out the bull. And so we caped it out, hung the meat, did all the picture thing and everything, and packed it off the mountain. But the part that was so cool, the 2 parts that I took away from this hunt was, I guess I'll talk about the bull first. Like, the bull was awesome, of course. And this is why we killed this bull, and this is why he was the target bull. Like, you go up to most elk, and like a lot of elk, even like good big bulls that score really well, you can fit your hand around their main beam. Some of them you can't. They're crazy massive, and they're just giant bulls. But like my dad's bull on his, I think it's his left side on his brow tine. You can't even fit your hand around it. His mass was unlike anything I've ever seen. He had like 73 inches of mass, and he's just a giant, barely 6 point, pretty much a 5. Cool bull. You can see pictures of him on my page, and that's all I want to say about the bull himself. Not to like undermine the bull, and I'm not like a big like trophy hunter score guy. Love killing big stuff and being there when other guys do. I say I love killing. I love seeing other people do it. I've never killed anything big myself, but so that was awesome. Just because to me, and of course I'm biased, but I think I can give him the credit that a lot of other people would as well. Like, my dad's just salt of the earth. Like I said, he's my best friend. Of course, he's my dad. So, like I said, I'm biased. But for him to take that caliber of a bull was just, felt like there was no one better deserving to take it. And then the second part was just the experience with the people we were with. And that's like the most meaningful part, right? Was like, it's funny, those 2 stories I've told so far about the duck hunting, thinking about my dad, and then this story are like stories that make me emotional. So when I'm in my feels, right?
Right.
I think about it. Like last year I was hunting out in the Idaho backcountry, and I was hiking out and just reminiscing on the hunt, just thinking about my experience. I'd solo hunted the entire time, and just thinking about hunting, and like I thought about that duck hunting story, and my dad carried me on his back, and I most of this has been like me sharing sentimental stuff. But go ahead.
When you're deep in the wild, you need fuel that won't quit. ReadyWise Pro Meals delivers over 30 grams of protein and over 500 calories per serving, keeping you strong for the hunt, the chase, and whatever the backcountry throws your way. From the protein-packed breakfast skillet to the bold Thai coconut cashew curry, these lightweight, freeze-dried meals are ready in minutes. Just add water and get back to the adventure. Made in the USA and built for hunters, explorers, and anyone who refuses to slow down. Get yours at ReadyWiseOutdoor.com and use promo code STEALTH for 10% off your next order. If you're chasing big game out west, you know your glass is only as good as your tripod. That's why I run the Muley Maniacs Canopy Pro Carbon XL. It's lightweight, rock solid, and built for the mountains. Whether you're chasing high country mule deer or late season elk, this thing never quits. Muley Maniacs are built to last and come with a lifetime warranty. Right now, you can save 15% off your order with code STEALTH at muleymaniacs.com. That's muleymaniacs.com. Built by hunters for hunters.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, but that's part of, I think, the allure of hunting with a lot of people. I mean, I told you, like, if it wasn't for my boy wanting to hunt, like, I didn't grow up with anybody. We spent a lot of time together. I coached him in baseball. He played baseball. I mean, we did stuff together, and that's cool. But there is something about going out and harvesting an animal and helping somebody have, like, a success, like, on a bigger level, right? Because it's like you play baseball, you want to win games, right? Like, that's the expectation. But this limited entry hunt that you went on with your dad, like, it wasn't a guarantee that he was going to get a bull. I mean, they're not easy hunts to get into in the first place. And then once you're there, like, you still have to do the work. In like you said, you go down, you scout, you do all those things. And then just what I think is so cool, how you talk about having, like, all your family there, like cousins, nephews, you know, everyone, and just friends. People come together, and that's like a sense of community that I think is missing in the world today in, like, other areas, and why there's so much division amongst each other. Because when you get out in the mountains, like you said, you were surprised you had cell service. A lot of the time where people go to get elk, you don't have cell service. So it gives people a chance to kind of slow down and pause a little bit and reflect on the things that are most important. And so, like, I get, like, getting emotional. Like, I mean, Jackson and I, we haven't done anything crazy like that, but we've created some memories together over the last 4 years since we started hunting that are going to live with us forever, and that we'll always have. And so I don't think it's bad to get emotional. I don't think it's bad to be, like, sentimental about it. I think that's what hunting is. And a lot of times it's not about just what you do, it's what you help somebody do, and someone that you clearly care about. So.
Yeah. No, that's thanks for clarifying that. And it's, like, it's really good insight, you know, and talking to people about it. When I share these stories, someone will say similar stuff that you said, and I'm like, okay, I'm not just a baby.
No.
But no, yeah, it's something that's, like, very, very close to my heart and a memory I'll have for my entire life. And it was just so cool, like, so many different aspects, having my little cousin there, my dad's brothers there, to having, obviously, me being there, my stepmom and my little sister, my brother-in-law, so many close family. Everybody that was there is family. Yeah. Even if they're not family, right? And everybody just being so happy and excited for my dad, and what that meant to me, seeing the person that, you know, one of the people that I love most in my life and look up to most, seeing him have an experience that was so, and again, I know that experience that can be had without killing your target bull, but just the stars aligned perfectly. And it was so fulfilling and rewarding for me to see my dad have that, and then being able to be a part of it too. Yeah. It was awesome.
No, for sure.
One more I'll throw in there real quick was just my grandpa, probably 3 years later, drew the same tag, but he drew the rifle season. So still in September, and for the limited entry rifle elk, and on same unit in the Boulder, 79 years old. He has a pacemaker, so he wasn't.
It's going to be me when I'm out trying to hunt.
Yeah, it's going to be you. And no, you'll draw him before then. I have a feeling.
Good.
But 79 years old, pacemaker, and, you know, he's the one that took my dad and his brothers hunting growing up deer hunting, and they pretty much just drove roads and kind of chased him up the mountains and shot him off the hood of the truck out in the big sagebrush fields. And same thing, my grandpa always put in for the tag, finally draws it, and he's not, I mean, I'm sure most everybody listening to this knows that the age of 79 isn't the ideal age to be chasing elk, right? So we weren't expecting him to shoot some crazy target bull, just to go and hang out at camp and hunt and hopefully kill a bull and have a great experience.
Yeah.
And so that's exactly what we did. And a lot of those same people were there. Another person that's like family, really close friend, Lance Foster. He's from southern Utah as well. He came, knows that unit really well and was just happy to come have that experience with us as family and help out. Huge help. He helped us. He dang near did the whole thing, quartering out the bull and everything. But long story short, my grandpa ended up killing a bull in a super accessible spot where it was basically flat, and it was my uncle. So I had split up with Lance. Lance, and his son split off, and then the rest of the group was with my grandpa. They had this big group, and so we're just trying to get him a good bull because he can't move around a ton. He's healthy, but not like hiking up hills and stuff.
Yeah.
And they went off on their own. And long story short, what ended up happening, bulls are screaming like crazy. It's ideal elk hunting. So just awesome experience already in and of itself. What ended up happening is these guys, like everybody that was with them, there wasn't like a big, like experienced elk hunter with them, but they've all hunted deer and stuff. So they're just like, hopefully something comes out and we know what to do, like where to shoot it and everything. My uncle remembered there was one of those elk calls that you push, the hoochie mama, right? Mm-hmm. Like one of those simple little handheld elk calls in my truck. So he sprinted back to his truck, got it. And again, he's probably never, to my knowledge, never ever called in or even attempted to call an elk before. And he comes back, hits the hoochie mama, and this bull comes out, and my grandpa shoots it. And so
maybe it is easier than I'm making it sound.
Seriously, I think I make elk hunting a lot harder.
Yeah.
No, but he hits the hoochie mama, this elk comes out, my grandpa shoots it in the middle of a flat meadow, so we're able to drive the truck right to it. But it was perfect for my grandpa, right, given his health and his condition. And then same thing, like both these bulls that were killed on that unit by my dad and then by my grandpa, like we have these pictures. They're the coolest pictures because not just because they're good bulls, but because there's a group, a trophy photo of, anywhere from 7 to 12 people behind this elk.
Yeah.
And there's like, that tells a story, right? Like having everybody there on those hunts.
And multiple generations.
Your friends that are like family because of what they're willing to do and be there for you and help out. And my grandpa was so, like, he doesn't have that excitement anymore that I do, like a younger guy, like just so ambitious for hunting because he told me a cool story once about how he shot this deer with his recurve bow, and he's had a lot of experience, but I saw him light up like I've never seen him light up, and it was the coolest dang thing. And that I remember on that hunt, walking back to go retrieve the bull with him, I just, again, got emotional. So just awesome experience. Those are two that I'll never forget. My dad's bull on that limited entry hunt, and then my 79-year-old grandpa, seeing how happy he was. And, going into the hunt, he's like, my grandpa's old-fashioned, super cheap. He's like a garbage disposal, won't throw expired food away. So I don't think he was planning on mounting the bull. And then after he shot it, and he was so excited, he's like, oh yeah, absolutely, we're mounting the bull. And he was just all about it. Can't stop talking about it. And that didn't you look at that unit, and a lot of people are like, oh, like whatever it is for that person, right? Target bull or 370 or bust. And he didn't care. Like, he shot a little 6-point, and that's all we needed. He had all of his boys there except for one. He had 5 boys, and he couldn't have been happier. He's a no hunting on the Sabbath type of guy too. And so he told us after, and we would have hunted on Sunday, but he wouldn't have. He's like, I was praying that in my heart I didn't have to hunt on Sunday. And he's like, this just all came. So for both of these hunts, it's like, for us, ideally, the stars aligned, right? For my dad's hunt and my grandpa's hunt.
That's super cool. I appreciate you sharing those stories. I mean, I'm hoping one day, like my grandkids and I mean, my girls want nothing to do with hunting. But yeah, you never know. I mean, I got 2 granddaughters now, and I want to get them out, get them doing it. And my wife's fighting me on it, but I'm going to do it. But I hope someday, like, someone's able to sit back and share that story. So, like, when you talk about like the sentimental side, like, I'm sitting there listening to you, and I'm going like, man, I started late in life. I want to get the rest of my kids and grandkids and friends and family, whoever wants. Like, I love it. It's so there's just something about being out in nature on a mountain that is super hard to get around on. Like, you can't, it's like you said, there's certain areas where you can go into and it's nice, but a lot of times where the bulls are that you want to go get, like you have to go straight up a hill, and you got to be prepared physically to do that. Especially where I'm going to have to go, because I'm going to have to go deep to get away from everybody.
Oh, totally.
But yeah, I think that's what hunting is all about, is creating memories and being able to share stories. And here we are wanting to sit down. I want to talk to you about your stuff, and you're talking about your dad and grandpa. And I think that's awesome. I mean, I can't tell you how many times, like I've sat down with someone, just the Chad Allen Jones, who I just did a podcast with last week. Like we talked a lot about his daughter's first hunt, when she was 10. And I think it's like super cool that, that's what it is. It's about sharing like a love that you have for a sport and growing and sharing it with other people and bringing them into the fold. So we were talking a little bit before, Evan, when is your favorite time to hunt elk?
I love, and this is where, don't get me wrong, if I was gifted, like a CWMU tag or a premium unit tag, I'll take it all day, every day, right? Or if I had the money, I would absolutely do that. But my favorite time to hunt is to hunt elk on over-the-counter tags in September. And I say that because, like, specifically over-the-counter because of the challenge that it is. And there's, like, more meaning to the hunt and everything about it, finding the area that I want to hunt, finding elk. Like, oh, they do exist. Finding them myself, and then all the encounters and the experiences you have. There's so much that I couldn't even cover it all that I love about it. But that's my favorite time, is bow hunting elk. I've hunted quite a bit the over-the-counter here in Utah, and then most recently, the area I've fallen in love with is just the state of Idaho. Hunting it's still over-the-counter. They're limited. It's hard to get an over-the-counter tag in Idaho now because they sell out so fast. But that's my favorite time to hunt elk.
When do the over-the-counter tags go on sale in Idaho? Do you know?
Yeah, for
non-residents.
Hopefully, I'm helping some people out here.
Maybe just me. We may have to go back and just cut this part out.
Yeah, cut this out. Have them pay for this this part of the. Yeah. No, it's obvious, super, super well known. But yeah, it's December. It used to be December 1st. This last year, they changed it to December 10th.
Okay.
So I'm assuming they'll do December 10th again this following year.
Okay.
Or this coming year.
Keep an eye on that. I know the one thing that we're still trying to put it together is looking going up to Idaho, like Nez Perce, and hunting black bear up there.
Oh yeah.
I think that's one of the things that we've had a couple setbacks in getting everybody coordinated to take our crew up there, but we want to go up there and do that. The other one that we're thinking about doing is Montana, like a black bear Montana, not elk, but that's the only thing. When I started hunting elk OTC here in Utah, and I told myself I'm only going to do archery. And I didn't realize you don't know what you don't know. Yep. I'm like, you go online, you see like Cam Haynes, Donnie Vincent, Jay Scott, all these guys that are out there like doing their thing. I'm like, oh. And then all the other people that hunt, Gritty, like all these guys, it's like, oh, this should be pretty simple. Like you just get a bow, learn how to shoot it, and then you go into the backcountry.
And then you even you'll take away things from them too that you're like, oh, okay, and I've learned a ton from them, so I've got this. Yeah.
I will say, since this podcast, I think we're just starting our 7th month now. Sunday will be when we launched our first episode. It was October 4th.
Cool.
We did our first episode. I have learned a lot, being able to talk just to like guys like you, different people. And it's kind of cool being able to pull everything together and look back at like what I've done, because like this, I don't do that. This isn't a full-time gig for me. Like this is just, I've fallen in love with it. And yeah, some guy that's never killed an animal is doing a hunting podcast.
I love it.
But it's fun.
Can I just say something too?
Yeah.
It's like, and you'll kill animals, but it's like it does, but it doesn't matter. Like it does, it matters in the way of like what to you, to the hunter, right?
Yeah.
That you want to kill something, but it also just, it's not what it's all about, right? It's so funny because it's such a double-edged sword. It's like, it is what it's about, right? You're going out there to harvest an animal, especially if you're going out there by yourself, or you and a buddy are putting in the effort to go on a backcountry trip. But at the same time, it's like, dude, all I care about is spending time with my dad, or all I care about, like, not all I care about. Ideally, we'd like to catch fish, or we'd like to, shoot ducks or kill a bull.
I've caught fish before.
Okay, good.
Shot pheasant. I've never been duck hunting. That's one of the things that I want to go do.
We'll have to go.
Yeah, but to your point, I mean, the only thing that I have are like those sentimental memories.
Yeah.
And that's been enough to like keep me wanting to keep going out.
It's that you're taking away awesome sentimental memories, but also you're getting funny stories of messed up, like heartbreaking stories, but then they turn into funny stories too about messed up opportunities. And then also that's what keeps it, like, that's what keeps you hungry for more, right? Is not only when you have success, but when you have that failure. For me, that's what drives me a ton, is because I've been close so many times.
It's the competitor in you.
That I'm like I will all day, every day show up to a deer camp where I hike less than a mile every day, and we're riding roads and four-wheelers with the kids or with my dad or whoever, and I will do that for the rest of my life. But I'll also love the other side of like, hey, like, not taking any kids on this hunt.
Yeah.
This is a backcountry backpack hunt, and I'm taking it as serious as I would take anything else.
Yeah.
So I love both sides to it.
Yeah. That's the great thing, is you have the opportunity to do both. Like, I mean, it's whatever. You can hunt however you want to. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to go out with the family and that's like all you can do, and that's the way that it makes it so you can go out and get some time hunting, take your family. There's people that's the only way they're able to do that. And there's other guys that are able to go out, solo and do that. But I think oftentimes people get too caught up in how they have to do it, rather than they get to. I mean, that's just my thoughts, because it's like, I love everything about it, man. The struggle, like the pains of the body. I look at where I was physically when I started hunting 4 years ago versus where I'm at now. Like, it does. Like, there's the physical side that's like, okay, I need to make sure that I'm physically prepared to be able to give myself a chance to get an animal.
Yeah.
And I've had one bull at 30 yards, and he was in scrub oak up to his chest, didn't have a clean shot on vitals, and wasn't going to take a shot if I didn't have anything on vitals. And I'm watching him walk, and he's about 3 yards from an opening. And I'm like, there is no way that this is going to be my first bull. And sure enough, I feel a breeze hit the back of my neck, and he stops and like turns, looks at me for a split second, and was just boom, gone. It was the last day of the hunt too.
Oh.
But that was my very first hunt as well.
That is awesome.
And I just like, it hooked me. I was like hearing that bull come like crashing through. They weren't bugling at all up where I was at, but hearing that, I was like, this is amazing. Jackson and his buddy Cam were down like trying to, it was the first time we'd kind of been, we were looking for a new area. It was like we'd gotten up at like 5 a.m. and hiked down like 2.5 miles. I mean, we like up hills, down hills. You probably know where I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. But anyway, we get back there and it's like nothing. And so they go down to try and find, where the watering hole is. And that happened. But it was incredible. Like, seeing a big bull, even if they're not bugling, is like, it's like you see like the busts and stuff, right? And then you see them in there, but when you see them live in the wild, it's, kind of like what you said, like when your dad took it, like you flipped out. Like, just seeing those, like that rush of seeing those animals is bonkers.
It's something, in my opinion, you can't describe until you have those experiences for yourself, right? Like, you tell that story to someone who's never had an experience, and it sounds amazing, and because it is, and it's such a cool story. And then you go experience and have one of those experiences yourself, and you're like, oh my gosh, and like now I get why this guy likes this. But I know your pain and but you're like the heartbreak and pain of like, oh, I was gonna kill this bull, it's a done deal. But also the like how it hooks you too.
Yeah.
I guess I do have if we're good on time, I have a funny story to share.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So when I started hunting elk by myself and bow hunting elk, this is probably 7 years ago. I was hunting the Utah OTC, and where I was hunting now, I go hunt back there all the time in the same area. And my base camp, I'll go back like 5 miles, and then I'll keep my base camp there and just kind of go hunt from out of that camp. But this was my buddy, actually Logan. He had kind of tipped me off to a general area. Not these spots I was hunting. He's just like, hey, here's this trailhead and go hunt, this side of the mountain and this side of the mountain. There should be elk in there. I talked to so-and-so, and there's elk back there. And so I went back. I went in the first day by myself, and going into a new area, and especially when you haven't solo hunted a lot, which I haven't. At the time, I had not solo hunted a lot. This stuff's a lot more intimidating. So I was probably only a mile in at this point, and I just took my day pack, wasn't planning on spending the night. And a storm started to roll in, and I heard one bull bugle, or so I thought. I don't know if it was a bull or another hunter, but it was enough to get me to go back the next day. So storm rolls in, a little bit of hail comes in. So I go under a tree, and I'm like kind of freaked out, hoping the storm passes and doesn't get, because again, those high, especially in Utah, for people that know that hunt, like I was on the north slope of the Uintas, those storms that roll in can be so unpredictable and really scary with the lightning. And anyway, luckily, I got lucky on this one. That storm passed, and I ended up hunting the rest of the evening, just still pretty like shallow. I didn't go super far back. But by the end of the evening, there was, without a doubt, elk in there bugling that weren't hunters. And so I was like, awesome, I know where to go back the next day. So I wake up the next day, go back in, and again, just take my day pack, plan on hunting for the day. What ended up happening the whole day is I chased elk, and I didn't know what I was doing, or I like thought I knew what I was doing back then, and now I look back on it and I'm like, I wouldn't hunt them that way now. But I was just like bugling my head off, trying to call bulls in by myself, which is really hard to do in general, I feel like, but especially if you're by yourself, and especially if you're by yourself and inexperienced. And so I actually had a couple bulls that I got like pretty close to. I was probably 30, 40 yards from them. I had a spike, and I end up. It was just like one of the best days of elk hunting to this day I've ever had. All by myself. Don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm just in bugling bulls literally all day. It wasn't like just a morning hunt thing. I took a nap for probably an hour and a half around 11 o'clock. Woke up, and then elk were bugling the entire day. It was unbelievable. And
I've yet to be out like in the rut.
Oh,
like, what little I've experienced, that I can't wait this year to get out in the rut.
Yeah.
But anyway,
if you think you're hooked now, just wait. And I grew up like a rifle hunting mule deer, and there's this big debate in the hunting community if you're a mule deer guy or an elk guy, which one's better. And I love mule deer. I have 18 limited entry mule deer points, and so I'm super excited for that. But right now, elk is just I love elk.
Yeah.
And anyway, so again, super inexperienced, especially inexperienced bow hunting elk. And I actually got this little raghorn. So I see this raghorn, and I sneak into where I think he is, and I see him. He's probably 60, and he's probably 80 yards away from me. So little young bull, and he doesn't know I'm there. And so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna and we were bugled back and forth, and then I sneak into where I can see him 80 yards away, and I saw him. And it's funny because you learn these things that you don't hear about before, on the shows and stuff. You watch these hunting shows, and it's primos. I watched a lot of primos hunting, or Eastman's. They just call them in, and it's they bugle and cow chirp, and they call them in. You see a little bit of like the raking, but I saw this bull and I saw him stomp his foot. And so I did that. I started raking a tree, and then I made like stomping sounds. And textbook, like you see, and it was just out of luck, I guess. He comes in, he starts walking in like at an angle. And so I go down, cut him off, and he's coming. And this is my first opportunity I've ever had to shoot an arrow at a bull elk. And I draw my bow back, didn't even range, because I'm like, he's walking right in, he's going to be 20 yards, and I'll shoot him. And I shoot, and you just hear, boom, and he takes off. He stops for a second, like, what the hell just happened? Again, he was a young bull, and he looks around for a sec. I don't know if I hit him or not, and I watch him run off. I walk up, my arrow's at the bottom of a tree, not where I was aiming at all. And hindsight, I think I aimed for 20, he's probably more like 30, and I think what happened, it was total target panic and me just getting way too excited and the inexperience. And I shot, but I think like right when I shot, punched the trigger and just dropped my bow and looked to see if I hit him. And that arrow I've done that actually target shooting before. Same thing where like I'm shooting not very far and I've just super bad form and follow through. And
it doesn't take much to be off, to be way off.
Especially when you have a live animal in front of you. And so that was my first experience shooting at a bull elk. So that's the funny part of it. Missed a 30 yard shot by a mile. And I'm devastated, of course. And then the more you bow hunt, looking back the past, 10 years that I've bow hunted, you're like, that's relatively normal for bow hunting. Like, you just have to learn how to stomach those opportunities and learn from them and then become better.
And what's like the success rate in archery elk hunting? Like it's like less than 10%, like 10% or something, like of a successful harvest.
Yeah, I think that's pretty general. Let alone like the success rate for archery in Utah.
Yeah,
is I think a lot lower than that.
Okay,
but yeah, I mean 10% is already really low. I swear I heard at one point or another, I don't know if it's the same now, but Colorado and Utah was like 3% on these over-the-counter hunts. So I could be wrong on that. I thought that's what I heard, but maybe that's just for me.
Yeah. I'm 0%. So,
so I guess the last part to this funny story is I'm at this point, like I had just gone back to wherever the elk had taken me, and I know the area super well now, but at the time I didn't. This is my second day ever hunting this area.
Yeah.
And so I'm probably 5 to 6 miles back. And it got to the point in September, it's September, so during the day, you could hunt in a t-shirt or just like a really thin long sleeve. And I get back there 6 miles back, and after I missed that bull, and then after that, like I said, the elk hunting it was one of the best days of elk hunting I've ever had. After that, I continued to chase elk the rest of the night into the dark. And I'm like, I don't want to hike back to my truck in the dark. And this is where the inexperience really sticks out. I was like, I'm just going to sleep out here. I was like, it's so funny because everything about the story that I'm telling now and I'm not saying I'm some expert now, but I've learned so much from watching other guys, reading, and like how you hunt out of a backpack, how you pack a backpack, the gear that you want, like, and being lightweight. But back then I knew next to nothing. But I'm like, I'll just sleep back here. It was warm all day. And I'm at like 11,000 feet in elevation. 5 to 11. So much inexperience, but I'm just going to say exactly what happened. So I'm like, here's what I'll do. I'll take a game bag and I'll cut it, which I don't know what this was going to do and what was going through my head, but I'll make a lean-to, like this bag's going to do anything if severe weather came in, and I'll sleep under it. I have a down coat with me. I had like one more long sleeve and a down coat. So it's like 11 o'clock when I get everything set up. No. I got everything set up at like 9 o'clock. I ate probably a granola bar, took a drink, and because I was like, I want to be right here to chase elk the next morning. I fall asleep. I wake up freezing my tail off. I went to sleep at 9, and I wake up. I'm like, okay, hopefully it's like 4 or 5 in the morning. I look at my clock, and it's 11 p.m. So 2 hours have passed, and I'm freezing to the point where I'm like, I'm either going to have to hike back to my truck by choice or do something. And again, whether this affects it or not, some guys will say it would or would not affect it. But just in total inexperience, I'm like, I don't want to start a fire because it might scare every single animal on the mountain out of here. But I was so cold that I was like, okay, I'm starting a fire. I was like, I'm just going to pull an all-nighter. Like, I've done this with my buddies in high school, and I start this fire and I'm just exhausted from the day of elk hunting. I'm like, there's no way. So what I ended up doing is I found all these rocks that were flat and I heated them up around the fire. And that's what I did the whole night. I would heat these rocks up. I'd go lay down on them, fall asleep for 2 hours, and they would cool every 2 hours. And I'd wake up, start the fire again. It's probably more work and energy, but I felt like I at least got to sleep.
Well, I mean, it gets cold. Like, if you haven't been out there, it gets really cold. And, like, you could go into hypothermia. So it's actually probably a super smart thing. It's like to do that, to grab the rocks. And, yeah, I've heard of guys doing that, like, in survival situations, which it kind of sounds like you were a little bit in. Flat rocks, put them by the fire, heat them up. Throw them inside your jacket, pants, like whatever, sleeping bag, just try and create a little bit of heat. So super smart, actually.
I didn't have a sleeping bag or literally just my down coat. And so then I just laid them on the ground and just laid on these rocks, but they were warm. So it felt amazing that I could like go to sleep and be warm. So every 2 hours I did that, would reheat the rocks, sleep on them until it was light, and woke up, ended up finding an awesome wallow the next day and just learned more about the country and hunted elk. Didn't kill a bull, but
learned a lot.
Learned a ton. And it was never awesome. Like, I never felt like my life was threatened.
Yeah.
But it got a little I guess I got a little nervous.
Sure.
What am I gonna do? Am I gonna have to hike back? Or I'm gonna freeze? But just now I look back on it and it's just, I think it's hilarious. And I didn't have like an in-reach with me. I was just like, oh, I have cell service on this mountain at some spot, so I'll be fine. And now I look at that, fast forward however long ago that was, 6-7 years, and I'm like, I always go out with an inReach, or some sort of satellite communication, let someone know what trailhead I'm starting at, and then my gear's just improved like immensely, and it helps me be way more efficient now.
What have you changed in your gear that you feel has made you more efficient?
Honestly, and call it what you want, cliche or stereotypical or whatever you want to call it. But I watched a lot of like the Go Hunt guys, of like Brady Miller and those guys, I just really like dissected their backpacking lists, their gear lists. Not necessarily meaning like I had to get every exact piece and brand of gear that they had, but just learning from how they packed, right? And like the type of food that you want to bring to fuel your body, and not just throwing anything there. One of the other backpack hunts I went on, I remember I was throwing like the cups of fruit in and just like applesauce and all this heavy stuff that was so damn heavy. And now like I look for the lightest weight stuff, but stuff that's also like you get sick of it. So stuff that can keep me relatively like happy and want to eat, but the stuff that has the calories and carbs to fuel me. And then gear that's like, and you don't have to have the top line gear, but gear that is high quality, because to me, it's like it's worth investing in, because it's your life that it's your life that it's protecting, but also the hunt, so you can enjoy the hunt. Yeah. So I would say weight, and then knowing you always think, I remember hearing this in videos, and now that I've gone out and hunted multiple years by myself, you always think that you need way more, like want to be over prepared than you actually need. You can still be very well prepared and go in relatively light. Yeah. Not take the kitchen sink back there.
Yeah. I would say one thing for anybody that's hunting elk in the fall is to pack rain gear.
100%.
Because like you had mentioned, like you never know when it's going to come, and it'll hit you, and then it will pass. But that's like the one thing, because when we were out and we got hit with that, it was warm, and like I said, we started out with like hoodie, jacket, and then by midday we were, not even midday, like late morning, we were into a t-shirt.
Stripped everything, yeah.
But then the storm came, and one of us forgot their rain gear.
You sound like my dad.
And yeah.
You sound like my dad talking about me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm talking about Jackson. And I even told him before we left, like camp, I said, make sure you got your rain gear. He's like, oh, I do. I got it. Anyway, we got hit, and we were shivering. I mean, like when the heat goes away and you get wet. I mean, I had waterproof boots, but we got so soaked that it was going down, like through the clothes, into the legs, into the socks, down into the boots, and I gave him my gear, and he was okay. But yeah, it was not fun. It was not a fun situation to be caught in, and we were about 3 miles from camp when the storm hit. We had spent all day. We'd gone back and we hiked up. For whatever reason, we decided to go back this like gnarly direction, and we're like, hey, let's go up. Maybe there's some animals back here, and it was just all scrub oak, like waist high, and so like it took us 3 hours to get out of probably like about a half-mile climb that we did.
Ugh.
And then literally as we got to the top, like there was like 80-mile-an-hour winds. I called my wife and I was like, hey, we're getting hit. I think there's a storm coming. I'm like, FYI, if you don't hear from us, you may want to send somebody up. Mm-hmm. And anyway, hung up the phone because it was just, the wind was blowing, so she could hardly hear me anyway. So like I shoot a quick text, because then once we started to go back to the truck, we were going to lose service again.
Okay.
But that hit, and then it was like the lightning, rain, anyway, all that stuff. We already talked about it, but get rain gear and keep it with you.
100%.
If you're hunting elk in the fall.
Good rain gear too.
Yeah.
Like I said, you don't have to have the most expensive stuff, but make sure it's quality stuff. I remember I took my uncle let me borrow his rain gear, and looking back on it, it was like I ended up ripping it in elk country because it's elk country. You're walking through the thickest stuff, and I mean, depending on where you're hunting, but in a lot of deadfall. And it was probably a set of $30, $40 rain gear, and which is that's good for if you're going to like watch your son's football game. Right?
Yeah.
But not if you're elk hunting. So I learned my lesson there. Getting wet, I hate getting wet.
It's the worst.
Like, if you have rain gear, you're good to get wet, right? But getting wet when you forgot your rain gear is the worst.
It's terrible, but yeah. Anyway, well, I appreciate your time as we wrap up here. Any last little bit of advice you'd want to share with the folks that are new to elk hunting that maybe may help them have success?
I would say, I mean, that's funny, and I'll admit it on this podcast. I've killed multiple animals with my bow. I've never killed an elk with my bow. I've shot elk. I've shot 2 elk with my bow that I didn't find. Jordan could tell you a little bit about that. I called him once while I was tracking one, and had multiple encounters. You know, I won't tell the story, but like this past year I had one where I snuck in. It was so cool. I snuck in on a herd, and I had 2 bulls that were fighting locked up at 20 yards. And again, it's like I say, you have so many experiences like that. You know, these 2 bulls are fighting at 20 yards. I was going to shoot a bull, but I wanted to take a couple steps because I missed a bull last year. I shaved the hair off the top of his back from not ranging, and I missed him. Put my 40-yard pin center mass, and he was like low 30s, you know. And but I learn every year. Like I've hunted, like I said, my whole life, and I learned so much every year. I feel like, you know, especially in the heat of the moment. So I feel like I've gotten. But anyway, I ended up blowing these elk out. I scared them because I tried to take a step to get a clear shooting lane. So advice I would say is like if someone asked me if I was a good elk hunter, I'd be like, I feel like I'm good at finding the elk and I get in close enough range to have shot opportunity.
That is a challenge in and of itself.
So that's like something where before it was like, I don't even know if I can find elk. Now I've like learned like the areas they're in, and I try, you know, finding them. I feel like I've gotten good enough to where I can put in the effort that's needed in certain areas to find the elk and then to get shot opportunities on them. But I'm like the basketball player that, I won't say any names because we probably have biased opinions on basketball players for the listeners, but that just like in the clutch moments just doesn't pull through. So I've had some air balls for sure. But advice I would say, We talked about gear, be prepared. You talk to guys with tons of experience. Like, I know that's a very broad answer, but as far as like actual hunting, I solo hunt a lot now, and I've talked to from my experience, this is what I would share. And then I talked actually at the Hunt Expo, I talked to Dan from Elk Shape, and he kind of said the same thing. I was asking him, what do you think? Should I change it up? He's like, dude, I would just keep doing what you're doing, solo hunting. And what I found most effective, where before when I was inexperienced elk hunting, I was like trying to bugle and call and do everything you see on the shows. And I'll do that like every once in a while now, just to if I'm locating something or to kind of find out where it's at. But really all I do now is I rarely call, and I just wind. Wind is the number one thing. Check your wind, have good wind. I tried once last year and knew it, to sneak in on this bull. I was just being late, taking the lazy route. Just try to sneak in on him, having bad wind, and sure enough, he winded me. So wind, and then I would say put the calls down, and just as long as you have good wind, and they don't know you're there, keep your wind right, be patient and quiet, and you can sneak right in on elk. I think they're easier to sneak in on then, because you have forgiveness with noise. They're loud animals.
Yeah.
So again, I feel like I can give this advice on sneaking in on elk. On shooting them, maybe people have more ice in their veins than I do. So hopefully, maybe we can do another one of these, and I can tell you about when I kill a bull this fall.
We'll sit down. We'll both talk about the bulls that we killed this fall.
I love it. Let's do it.
Okay.
I guess one more thing. Can I say one more thing?
Yeah, of course.
I would just say enjoy the pursuit of the animal and the journey too. Like I said, people kill animals. Anybody can kill an animal, and then you can get to the point where you're like, oh, I want to, whatever it is your hunting goals are of, I want to kill a certain species or a certain age class or, inches. Everybody can get to whatever point they want there, but just enjoy and don't be too good for anything. And just enjoy all of it. Like I said, I'll go hunt, and it's not credit to myself, it's credit to those who have taught me, right? Not to to take it seriously, but don't take it too seriously. Go on those hunts where, your family goes on a hunt to Texas and shoots a buck over a corn feeder. Go on those hunts where, you're backcountry, solo hunting, no service, and doing the total opposite, and just have fun doing everything that you're doing.
Yeah. No, I think that's great advice. I would say this, because I've talked to a lot of guys that get the buck fever. I have ADHD. The only time I drew back on that bull, but I told you I didn't have a shot on vitals, so I didn't take it. Everything slowed down for me, but I shoot my bow every single day. Well, that's not true. I had been shooting my bow every single day. I had separated my shoulder, so I've just barely started shooting again to where I can draw back, because I'm like, do I go drop my weight and get it to where I can go? But I've visualized myself. So when I'm looking down at a target, I imagine that this is an actual bull. And I will take the time to draw back, and I will hold for over a minute, to where it's you're trying not to move, and just those little types of things. Try and put yourself in
You're putting yourself in a practicing a high pressure situation.
Exactly. So that when the high pressure situation comes, again, for me, I had one experience where I drew back, I didn't let the arrow fly, but things had everything kind of slowed down, and I put the pieces together. I saw him, I slowly took out, ranged him, looked down, adjusted my
sight.
My sight.
Your slider.
My slider. I adjusted my slider, sat there, and drew back nice and easy. And I was probably holding on him as he's walking up. I was probably. It felt. I will say this. It felt a lot longer than it probably was, but it was probably 30 seconds. I was drawn back, and then I felt the breeze hit the back of my neck, and he turns and looks and bolts, and I was just let it down. But if you practice that shot and put yourself in those situations, like I said, trying to, and I saw that, I can't remember where I saw it, but maybe it might have been Cam Hanes, one of his videos. He's practice taking the shots that maybe it was one of his books I was reading that are real. Like I'll go down and like lean behind a tree, so I'm trying to shoot behind a tree. Just different situations like that. Because you can go sit a target out 20, 30, 40, 60, 80 yards down, and you can hit it. Because all the you're flat, conditions are good.
You have time to make sure, you know, your checklist of everything, anchor point, your bubbles level.
But I don't know. And I'm not trying to tell you how to do it. I'm just telling you what I have done. And I felt like the one situation that I had, I didn't feel rushed for me. So.
No, I've heard, it's funny you say that because I've heard, you know, guys like Remy Warren and other guys talk about doing those same types of exercises. And I think a lot of it too is just you having a lot of experience in front of animals as well. But yeah, man, it's, but that's why I love it so much too, is because it just gets me like so excited, knee shaking. And that's why I keep going back.
Awesome. Evan, brother, I appreciate your time.
Of course, yeah. No, likewise, I appreciate your time. Thanks for having me on.
You bet. All right, guys, stay safe. God bless.